You read the title. These are the lies about parkour that you still believe. Number one, we're kicking it right off with what was in the thumbnail probably, and that's that parkour is not actually dangerous. The lie here being that parkour is dangerous. Honestly, I understand why the average person would consider parkour to be dangerous. I mean, you look at videos online and it's mostly people jumping across rooftops or whatever, doing flips. Maybe parkour fails is your only kind of perception of parkour. You know, I understand why you would think it's dangerous. But the truth is, just like any other sport, parkour is only as dangerous as you make it out to be. So me, for example, I've been doing parkour for like half of my life, and I've only been seriously injured like one time, maybe two. One time I sprained my ankle and I couldn't walk for like 2 weeks on that ankle. And then the other time I hyperextended my leg and I couldn't walk on it for like 3 days. And that's in like 8 years of training. So it really is just about how dangerous you make it out to be. Now you may hear can't walk for so and so amount of days and think, well, of course that's dangerous. If you compare it to any other sport, it's just about the same. The thing about parkour is not only does it teach you how to jump across buildings and shit, but it will also teach you how to save yourself in the event that you fall over, not in the event that you fall off of a building. In that case, you're fucked no matter what. But in the event that, say, you're doing a jump and you start falling forward, parkour teaches you how to save yourself out of that fall and, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, for sure, when you see Russian people online doing the craziest shit and calling it parkour, yeah, of course, it's technically parkour, but parkour isn't as dangerous as these crazy stunts make it out to be. A lot of parkour is just training, like jumping between rails or something. As per usual, the internet just kind of pushes all of the craziest shit because that's the only stuff that people really watch. And that creates an environment where most people's only perception of parkour is crazy shit. Truthfully, I don't do much parkour anymore. I mostly do tricking and free running, which is the more stylistic kind of aspect of parkour. But as you can see, what I'm doing isn't nearly as dangerous as some of the stuff you'll see. Misconception 2 is that it's only done in the city. This couldn't be further from the truth. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about this is, I believe it's Ronnie Shalvis. He posted a video where he did parkour, I guess it would be more free running, with just a curb, like on the side of a sidewalk. And he was able to get a couple of really nice lines in with nothing but a curb. Okay, so again, most people's perception of parkour is people in cities jumping on like buildings and whatever, or even not buildings, even just like different obstacles in cities. And truthfully, yeah, cities are a great place to do parkour because the kind of man-made objects are really easy to jump over and on and whatever. But parkour, by definition, doesn't have to be done in the city. It can be done literally anywhere. It can be done in your backyard. It can be done, I could do parkour in my room right now if I really wanted to. I think I've done a couple backflips in here. Check out this video where I did like Omegle backflips. But make sure you wait till after this video to watch that, obviously. But yeah, you can do parkour literally anywhere because the definition of parkour is getting from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible. And, you know, nowhere in there does it say that it has to be in a concrete jungle kind of environment, you know? If you've heard of Sean Batista, he does a ton of crazy shit like parkour stuff in the woods. He'll be doing Kong gainers off of like tree stumps, and it's insane. So like go check him out if you want some kind of inspiration for training parkour outside of that environment. Misconception number 3 is that parkour is just climbing up to the tallest object you see and doing a flip off of it. Now, don't get me wrong, that's pretty badass. I like doing that. That's one of my favorite things to do, just doing flips off of shit. Parkour is, like I said earlier, and like I probably will say a million more times in this video, parkour is simply the most efficient way to get from point A to point B. So technically speaking, 99.999% of flips aren't involved in parkour at all. So when someone says that they're a parkour athlete, that doesn't even necessarily mean that they do flips. Parkour mostly just involves, you know, jumps, vaults, you know, climbing walls, stuff of that nature. Basically anything that can get you through an environment in an efficient way. Now you may have noticed I said that most flips are not part of parkour, and that's because you can do flips in parkour. And that's going to lead me into the next lie that a lot of people believe. That's the lie that you can't do flips in parkour. Okay, this is the opposite side of the spectrum from the other one. The other one is parkour is just flips. This is the other side. This is more like actual parkour athletes that believe this, and that's the idea that parkour involves no flips. It's nothing to do with each other, but that's honestly not true, okay? If you're jumping a large gap, for a lot of people, myself included, you'll be able to jump a lot farther if you throw yourself into a front flip or a side flip. Okay? Now, this isn't always true because all situations call for different things. Like if you're doing a precision, then yeah, obviously it's way easier to, you know, jump normally and not flip. But for me personally, there are a lot of times where doing a front flip over a gap is a lot easier than just jumping over it, you know? Like I can say with a decent amount of confidence that I can front flip higher than I can just jump. And the last misconception about parkour is that it is super difficult, or that, oh, I'll never be able to do that, right? So when I do flips or even parkour too, like one of the most common reactions I'll see is people being like, oh, I could never do that. That's so crazy. But the truth is, you can get into parkour in like one day if you really wanted to, right? You can get into learning the beginner movements in one day, and you can get pretty like all right within a couple of months. Like I know people who've gotten fucking insane at parkour in a very short amount of time. And a lot of that is to do with just how strong someone is outside of the sport, right? If you're already strong going into parkour, then you can jump farther, and you're mostly just learning about the technique behind catching yourself on stuff and landing precisely. So if you've ever looked at like a parkour athlete and immediately thought to yourself, wow, I could never do that, that's so insane, stuff along those lines, I really would challenge you to think otherwise, because most of the parkour movements you can absolutely learn. A lot of this channel is dedicated to teaching that. Well, actually this channel is more so dedicated to teaching flips, but if you do want to get into learning some beginner flips, you can watch pretty much any video on my channel. I'd personally go with this one if I were you. That's about it. I'll see you later, man. I hope you have a great rest of your day.